Okay. Fellow apple lovers, welcome to Salt Spring and our 13th annual Apple Festival. And one of the greatest things is when I look around this room and I see children here getting connected with apples. That's one of the things we try to do with Apple Festival, is get lots of kids involved because it's so important. Kids, we have a couple now teenagers with 10 years experience at this festival. I think that's just a great... Anyway, I think the other thing I'd like to do is just make sure that we think about Mother Nature this year, because she did all of this. If you look around here, we have 302 varieties of apples this year, all grown organically on Salt Spring, and it's just incredible. We had a team of 50 people last night come here and put that together alphabetically, so it was just fantastic. So, once you leave here, you get to go out and really connect with all the growers of apples and all the apple trees, and you get to taste, and that's the type of thing that really will connect you with exactly your favorite apple, is to get out and do some tasting. So, I'm not going to speak much longer here. One of the things we like to do on Salt Spring is bring back some historical characters, and this Apple Festival has been a little magic, and what it's tend to do, the presence of that many apple varieties tends to bring back some characters from the dead. And today we have Mr. James Hector Monk, who's going to come here and give us a little talk. Mr. Monk, come on up on stage here.
Well, now, Captain Apple, it's a great pleasure and a privilege to me to come back from the dead and visit the old Fulford Hall, which opened in 1921, and I used to come here when I was farming apples at the south end, the Beaver Point Road area. Thanks to Captain Apple's time machine, I'm here. I farmed apples on Eleanor Point, which is at the end of King Road, down from Beaver Point Hall, 160 acres, and I farmed it for 40 years. So I know apples, and I know what a great man you have here in Captain Apple, and I thank you, Captain Apple, for what you do for apples and for the South End. Now, you may notice that I have a slight accent. I was born in Somerset, in England. In 1870, my father was headmaster of a grammar school, so I had a good education. People spoke funny there. My brother Charles, who come here, he used to say, "James, I could spit on a flea." That's the kind of way they talk. Anyway, here I am. At a very young age, I left England and emigrated to Canada, what was then known as the colonies. The year I was born, BC just became a province. Anyway, I got to Saanich by train and boat, and I settled on Wilkinson Road, so many of that prison there. And I started teaching at the age of 16 at the Strawberry Vale School, which is a tiny school that's still there now. And I did a bit of apple farming too. Then in 1902, I acquired 160 acres of land. I acquired it from the government on Salt Spring. And I come over here with my family, and I started to clear the land down there just south of King Road on Bay Ridges Road. And you know what? My farmhouse, Fernhill Farm, is still standing there today. If you go down Bay Ridges, on the first on the left is a red farmhouse. That's the house I built and raised my family and raised apples. I was very fortunate to have some very excellent Japanese farm workers who helped me clear the land, which was a big job in those days, and plant the apples, which were then a cash crop. It was very exciting. So there I was, in the middle of nowhere, growing apples. I had 4 children through my wife, May, Margaret, who married Harry O'Flynn, whose father worked on the side pack as an engineer. Now, they had a child called David O'Flynn, and he's here today. My grandson's standing over there. David, wave to everybody. What are you doing here? Good to see you, buddy. You remember David O'Flynn? He sold hot dogs to the ferry line up in Fulford and called himself the dog father. I'm so proud of that boy. He's done really well. My other daughter, Margaret, married young Harry Bapty. Many of you know the Bapty family. They live down in Monkshood Farm, down on Eleanor Point. My daughter, Elizabeth, married a lawyer in Victoria. And my son, Henry, who was 5'10", 6'10", died young of scarlet fever. So that was my family, and they helped me with the apples, and it was wonderful. Now the big problem with growing apples, as Henry Ruckle and Theodore Traeger, who were friends of mine, would tell you, was getting them to market. There was no ferry, just a steamer that came to their wharf at the end of Beaver Point Park once a month. That's no good with apples. So I put them in my boat, and me and Henry Ruckle, we'd row across the Swart Bay with boxes of apples piled high. We were tough people. That was the way we did it. Later on I bought a motorboat called the Ancyloceros, and it could do it in an hour. But it was slow rowing. That was exciting times. There's always been a problem getting to Salt Spring from Swartz Bay. You know that. Harry, on my way here, your time machine that you sent for me, because I died in 1953, broke down right at Swartz Bay, right next to the ticket booth. So I did this in the year 2015. 4 years from now. So I went in the booth, I said, what's it cost for car and driver? They said, $2,000. I said, what? Yes, sir. A few years back, some upstart from the United States called David Hahn screwed up the ferry system, made it user pay. The fares went up, the ridership dropped. Now there's only 10 people using it, and the rest are going by water taxi. So there's a little message for you from David Hahn. I don't know whatever happened to him. Anyway, I would roll those apples across there. And I also taught at the school in Sydney, and I'd row over there on a Sunday night, teach all week, and then row back. They were exciting days and busy days. You know, my neighbor, the next farm was the Stevens farm. And Mr. Stevens, a bit like his grandson Dimitri, I don't know if he's here today, liked to tease. And he'd say to me, Mr. Monk, you are a remittance man. You were sent to the colonies because you misbehaved in England. I said, no, I wasn't. But I said, I'll tell you what, I hear you've got somebody in BC who embarrassed BC, your former premier, and now he's been sent back to England as a remittance man. Commissioner for UK and Ireland. I don't know what's going on, but it's reversed. We're sending remittance people back to England. But that's another story. So I raised apples until, and by the way, in the year 1918, I look into my diary, I would take 10 boxes of apples, king apples. Do you still have king apples here, Captain? $2 a box. So I'd get $10 for rolling these apples over there. So these were tough times, but I had good neighbors. I had the Ruckles, the Traegers, the Pappenbergers, the Stevens, lots of wonderful people. I'd suggest if you ever go down Bay Ridges Road, take a look at my old farmhouse, which we called Fernhill Farm. Well, I think I've said enough this morning. I'm so glad to be here, and I'd like to, on behalf of all of you, I'd like to thank Harry for the expense of bringing me here. By the way, my wife and I are buried at Pat Bay in the Anglican churchyard there. We were buried there in 1953, and we're very comfortable. Thank you very much.
That was great, and one of the things that he didn't mention is I am now farming on his land. I'm farming on 5 acres of land that used to be owned by J.H. Monk, so that is just incredible. Thank you, thank you.